welcome to No Movies in Hell. I'm Chris Geiger.
I'm LaQuaw Scott, and today we are reviewing Lisa Frankenstein, a film by Zelda Williams and written by Diablo Cody.
I never saw Jennifer's Body.
You should see it.
I know. It's on my list. I do want to try to get to that. I need to find out if I can download it and take it with me on vacation.
I think you can. You probably should be able to, because it's been out for a while. So I believe it's on streaming, and you could probably watch it offline.
All right, I'll try to find that before I go. But I did see Juno, and I thought that was cute. I thought I would not like it. Like it just seemed silly, and I was like, but I had seen Juno, and I thought it was cute, so I was like, you know what? I'll give it a shot. It was better than I thought it was going to be.
Okay.
I really liked how over the top 80s everything was.
Oh yeah.
I like that they made the stepsister character so nice. You know, she wasn't just the stereotypical like evil stepsister that she could have been.
Yeah. Or like that played into that popular kind of distant and mean archetype that's usually found in like 80s films.
Right. And she was like nice, but also in that backhanded compliment sort of way, like, oh, you can date a basketball player, but you could probably date someone who is a team manager or
Yes.
I love the costumes and all the references back to, is this a spoiler? At one point when she's describing her mom and she's like, she smells like Elizabeth Taylor's White Diamond.
I was like, that's so specific. Yeah, I love all of the callbacks. I love this film. I thought the costume was amazing. I even thought like the explanation kind of the beginning of like how this person or thing came to be was really good. Like I thought the animation was really great, interspliced and told the story in a certain way. Yeah, like you, I thought the trailer was kind of like cheesy. I wasn't sure what was going to happen, but I really enjoyed this film and the filmmaking. It reminded me a lot of, like that late 80s, early 90s aesthetic, but very kitschy and like cookie cutter, like Edward Scissorhands. It reminded me a lot of. And then there were also these elements of, I don't know how to describe it, but the comedy and the kind of weirdness of certain characters were kind of like this movie Green Grass that came out a couple years ago, where it's very odd and weird and very kitschy, but that movie goes down like a different path. In this one, I like the story. The horror elements were great. I just feel like this is a modern classic, and that women, girls, whomever it resonates with will really come to like revisit. It took me a little bit to figure out like the main character. Usually she's blonde. So I thought like, oh, she's somebody else. And I was like, why does that name sound familiar? And she's the lead. And there's a horror comedy with Vince Vaughn that she actually is the main character. I can't believe I'm blanking on the name of the film. I'm going to find it real quick.
Based on Costco? Like,
no, it's they swap bodies. He's a killer and he swaps bodies with like a cheerleader in high school.
Oh, I remember when that came out.
Yeah, it came out during the pandemic. See how like real time we are? We're not even looking at notes or anything.
Right. Off the cuff. Everything is off the cuff. Well, I'll look up the name of the movie and I'll put it in the description below. There were Edward Scissorhands definitely references from a visual perspective. I also felt like there were, I don't know, everything seemed very familiar I guess a little bit different way. I don't know. Like even she did seem familiar, the main character, but she also seemed like she could have stepped right out of an 80s movie.
Mm-hmm.
Like I feel like
16 Candles or
like child stars now or like in that sort of tween age look different than they did in the 80s. Like in the 80s, their faces were fatter. Like now people get like that surgery where you get the fat taken out of your face here and like they do the contouring and like they look different today. Like if you tried to look at like women who were playing 18-year-olds back in the 80s and women who are playing 18-year-olds now, it's a different look. But I feel like she
Yeah.
is a very 80s actress look.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So Catherine Newton, and she was in Freaky. So I did have to look that up because I was like, why? Or maybe it's not in like, not in any notes that are near me. Yes. She's been in other like horror films as well. I like how this one is, it's kind of romantic comedy slash horror slash women's interests.
There were things that I didn't understand though, like within the context of the story. Like, how did they figure out the tanning bed thing? Who would have like that? There's no like logical connection there. It's just like, well, we'll put you in the tanning bed and that'll make it work.
I mean, I love it. It's kind of like, Back to the Future. Who knew it would have been a car, right? Like, who knows? I like that sci-fi element of you don't know what could turn, something, nothing into something. And I like the tanning bed because it's just so of its time. Like, I don't know. Maybe I'm not aware of, like, I don't know of people having tanning beds in their, homes anymore, or even garages. So it's like super 80s thing that's almost nearly impossible to recreate now. And yeah, like just that discovery of like, I'm going to do this. Yeah. Without any logic it's great. It's like magical. Like, how did he know how to drive?
Right, right. Well,
And I like the call out too. Like, wait, aren't you on one of those bicycles with the big wheel?
right. The tanning bed though is so counterintuitive because if you think he's basically a rotting corpse and you're going to put him in something that makes him warm, like that's not gonna. If his tears smell bad, like that's not gonna help.
Or how did he even come to life? It was literally like green lightning.
Right. Um, so many questions, but let's go to the slides. So we gave this high marks on costumes, hair, makeup. I really like the soundtrack.
Yeah.
I thought that was
It's
very
great.
fun.
Yeah, I see like story you gave it a 2. Like what would you, I guess, knowing, from the trailer you had like you had like a view, and then going into the film, like what do you think would have made it a 3 or made it
3.
like, yeah.
Wanted it to be a little bit darker where they're killing people. Spoiler. I don't think that's a spoiler. Like you can kind of tell that in the trailer, but they're killing people, but it's not like in Heathers where they're killing people. Like they're killing people, but in service of this greater nice. I just needed that one body part, or it's not
The greater good.
true, like, yeah, heart of darkness sort of thing. Could have been edgier.
Mm. It's interesting because there are so many dark elements, right? Like they never really explain like the mom dying. It was just like, oh, like they explained like she was murdered, but it seemed kind of like people just wanted to push it under the rug or like, oh, this happened. Don't worry about it. And it's like, well, actually, that was kind of like, that's really terrible. And then the explanation of the dad, it's just kind of like, wait, what? And it's just normalized that like everybody moves on. And I don't know, I kind of took it as maybe, Lisa was stuck in a way that was just like, I can't get over these things that happen. And then I have an evil stepmom, and my stepsister's okay, and my dad seems to be fine, and no one's really resonating with her as like a new student, like a new senior student. Like there's so many elements. This is really terrible.
Right, like it seemed like there were not consequences, or the
Yeah.
consequences to actions were not as impactful as you might have expected them to be.
Yeah.
Did you have anything else about this movie that you want to talk about?
I really liked it. I hope that it comes out, on there's a physical media, and I hope that people find this out and it resonates with them. Like I just feel like these are sleeper hits. And when I went to go see this film last week, there weren't, I mean, I saw an early show too, so granted, but there weren't a lot of people in the theater. So I'm hoping that the word gets out and people are able to see this before it goes away. And then when it is available on streaming or available for physical media, people check it out. Like, I think that's pretty much what happened with Jennifer's Body. It went under the radar. People started talking about it. It has Megan Fox in it. It has Amanda Seyfried in it. It's a great horror comedy. It steamrolled. And I think, this probably led to, this film. So we need more women interest, feminine interest films.
Do you feel like this should have come out closer to Halloween?
That's a really good question. I can see how there could be conflict because, yes, I would say initially, yes. However, I do think that you're fighting for space amongst the Oscar films. So having this film alongside, I don't know, like Anatomy of a Fall, or there wouldn't be enough space. But I do see, like, with Valentine's Day, I think that it's good. So long as this wasn't, categorized as like a January film.
It's also hard to identify the core target for this audience. Like, yes, it's horror comedy. It's very campy. It's also like teenager focused, but it's nostalgia because it's 80s. But so the showing that I went to was at Lincoln Square, AMC, and it was in a huge theater. It was in one of their larger theaters. It was maybe only like, I went to an early morning show, so there's that. But there were maybe less than 30 people there. But it was a very diverse group. Like, there were it seemed like some girls from high school, like up in the very front. And there were people who were like my age, kind of over on the side and the back. It just seemed, it was kind of, the audience was all over the board too. I don't know that helps.
Well, I would have to say, like, Barbie, well, I mean, it's Barbie, but like, it appealed to everyone. Are You There, God was kind of came and went, but maybe there just isn't, one, I don't think there's enough marketing. But two, I think the subject and the interest spans audiences. It's just that I haven't seen anything outside of a trailer and I don't even think I saw like a TV ad. I didn't see like an Instagram or like social media ad either. So,
right. I think,
yeah.
Unless you have a very large budget where you can adequately target multiple market segments, you have to just pick one and go, like, put all your money against that one. But I think because this had broad appeal, like it was hard for them to like fund a targeted campaign that could support that level of audience turnout or a bigger audience turnout. I don't know. Just my gut. I'm sure someone's running the algorithms as we speak. Do you have anything to plug in this episode? June 2 is going to be out, and they're re-releasing the original Dune in theaters for limited, which seems like fun. And they're also re-releasing Dune Part 1 of this version, which makes sense.
And there was like a TV series, Dune, too. So, there's a series on Sci-Fi in like the early 2000s. Okay. And then there's like 1984 Dune, and then now there's this Dune, and then there's going to be Dune 2. And the Dune 2 in the Dune popcorn bucket, which is not on sale yet, but is like going for like $80-something on eBay right now. Some theater employee is selling pre-sale.
What does it look like?
Oh my gosh, you haven't seen it?
No.
Oh. You're putting your hand through like one of the sandworms.
Oh, hilarious. You know what? I would have made it if I were at AMC making up their popcorn boxes. I would make it look like the box that he puts his hand in, where there's nothing but pain. Yeah.
The pain box is where you get your popcorn from.
Pain popcorn box. That's a genius idea.
It is.
I'm gonna invent that.
Write your Hollywood checks to Chris.
That's right. I'll start to work on the design later today, I'm sure. All right. Well, thanks everyone for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.